Hey Disney family, it's Jessica from Well Hello Disney. I am so happy you're joining me today. So this is a brand new year for me and it's my second year of Well Hello Disney, so I'm going to start it a little different this year. For the last year, I have been answering Disney vacay questions every Monday. So at this point, I do see a pattern in what questions are being asked. So since I upload a YouTube video every week, I thought between alternating room tours and Disney experiences, I also would throw in answering some of my most popular and most asked Disney vacay questions. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that comes up all the time in my DMs, in my questions, and that is, when is the best time or best age to take a kid to Disney? I get this question asked all the time as parents are trying to figure out if they should take their child to Walt Disney World. As a Disney kid myself, I spent a lot of years in the parks, and even though I may not remember details, there are pictures, I have little memories of it, and my parents also have memories for a lifetime, and I can see that excitement still in their faces as they go to Disney now with us and their grandkids. So the way that I answer this question for anyone who asks is I always say, the best age for your child to go to Disney is when you, as the parent, are mentally prepared to go to Disney. You might be thinking, okay, well, that doesn't answer the question. That doesn't make sense. So let me explain why. I have a few things that can help gauge if you, as the parent, are ready to take your child to Walt Disney World. The first thing is, are you ready to do research? Walt Disney World specifically is not one of those parks where you can just go and everything's going to fall into place perfectly. It requires research. There is a 60-day booking window for dining. Resorts, if you're staying on property, tend to sell out, so you need to book those in advance. You also need to understand the lay of the land of Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World is 43 square miles, which is the same size as San Francisco. So it's not one of those places you can go and easily navigate and it's going to work out all right. So it requires a lot of research. With that, then comes planning. You're going to have to make park reservations. You need to know what parks you want to go to on which days. And then you need to understand how to execute and plan those park days, which is not as simple as it should be. They do take some strategy, and with adding things like Genie Plus to be able to book a lightning lane, which for those of you who have never been to Walt Disney World, you're probably like, what are you saying? Those are ways to skip lines at Walt Disney World. And if you don't know about them, you're going to be spending a lot of time waiting. So that's why you have to do the research, then the planning, and then lastly, it's expensive. Even though I grew up being a Disney kid, my parents usually were paying for those Disney trips. I was a high school cheerleader that went down for competitions, and my parents were still paying for those trips. So I really didn't have an idea of what Disney really cost until adulthood. And even then, when I would go with my then boyfriend, who is now my husband, we would stay at any hotel for whatever price was the cheapest. We would get the cheapest ticket, and then we would spend the day at Walt Disney World and have a great day, great time doing stuff, and then we would go home. There wasn't really any thought into what we were spending because we weren't spending a lot and we weren't having to really plan out and execute the days. And then our son was about to turn 1 and we decided this is the year we need to take him to Walt Disney World. Disney is one of our favorite places. Even the day we got married, we went to Disneyland. So we thought we knew the parks, so we were ready. We spent 8 months planning with my husband's side of the family. We were ready to execute this and maximize our time there. We stayed off property. My father-in-law had gotten a discounted condo. We didn't even think about looking into discount military tickets or shades of green because we didn't take our research far enough to know that those things existed for us. So we still spent a lot on the trip. The only thing I think we used discount-wise was the military tickets. And then we went and we were exhausted, super overstimulated, overwhelmed. And I thought to myself, this is my park. Like, this is my childhood. How am I not able to navigate it? What is going on? But we had the most jam-packed schedule. We had places to be all day. We were maximizing every single minute of our Walt Disney World vacation, but we had a 1-year-old. And that was not a trip that's conducive to a 1-year-old. Even though we tried to plan breaks and rest days, we didn't execute our park days enough. That's also where I learned to not go to a party the same day as you go to the park, because you're not getting your value out of that. Because by the time the party rolled around, my child was exhausted, I was exhausted, we didn't want to stay till the end. We saw the first parade and we were out of there. So that's why it's so important to do a lot of research and then also have a plan, because it felt like we were spending all of this money and all we were was exhausted and overstimulated spending our time at the parks. So that's when I decided there has to be a better way to do Disney. There has to be a easier, simpler, more relaxed way to thoroughly enjoy my kids, thoroughly enjoy the parks, and not feel like I was running all over the place. And from that moment on, I made it my mission. We went to Disneyland for a few years, and if you've ever been to Disneyland, it's a totally different park. It definitely feels like classic Walt Disney 1960s park. You have characters walking around. There's crowds, but not everyone is rushing to the rides. Yes, there's still a few rides that sell out early and you'll want to grab that Lightning Lane 4 or Genie Plus or whatever fast system we have at the time you're watching this video. But for the most part, it's pretty laid back. It truly is the happiest place on earth. Now, Disneyland and California Adventure are pretty small parks, and you can walk across the street to hop the parks. So it's a totally different ball game than Walt Disney World. I actually used to tell people, if you have little kids, head to Disneyland, don't go to Walt Disney World because it's so overwhelming. But then once we stopped going to Disneyland those few years, we started going back to Walt Disney World, and I was like, there's a better way. So what I started doing was focusing the trip on my kids instead of the things I wanted my kids to do. Of course, I want my kids to ride all the classic rides. I mean, you have to go to Haunted Mansion, but then my kid's terrified the whole time because it's in the dark and there's ghosts. So I kept asking myself, why am I doing this? And then we tried to go to another after hours party. Again, went to the park that day, and I was like, wait a minute. I learned my lesson last time. We can't do this. So what ended up happening? We didn't even make it to the party. We ended up having to ask for a refund because we weren't even going to get to go to Jingle Jam at Hollywood Studios because the kids were tapped out and they were done. So as more kids came along, now I have twins and a toddler that I'm taking to the parks. I decided we're only going to do the things that I know they are going to love doing. We're going to take a break in the middle of the day. And then we're going to come back if we want to make the fireworks show. Or we have a full park day, we don't make it to the end, and then we go home. But I'm going to focus on Mickey, Minnie, Donald. At that time, Jake and the Neverland Pirates was there. I started focusing the trip on what my kids wanted to do, wanted to see. And I also realized they're going to tap out. They're going to be overstimulated. They're going to be tired. Am I feeding them enough? Are they eating enough snacks? Are they hydrated enough? Because those were the things I was missing those first few years on my Walt Disney World trip. Well, now my kids are older, and I have been so blessed and so lucky to have another Disney infant. So as an older parent, I'm getting to experience it all over again. And I can't tell you how much I am cherishing having, well, a baby at first, and now she's a toddler, she's 2. So I'm really enjoying the parks at her level because I've changed my mentality of how I'm doing the trip. Is the trip still expensive? Yes, but I found a lot of cheats and a lot of ways to cut down on cost. Since we go a lot, we're not a big souvenir family, so that helps me with my cost. But I can plan better, so I'm not wasting money. I don't buy a park ticket on the same day I'm buying a party ticket. A party ticket can range all the way up to like $169, but I can get into the park at 4. And from 4 p.m. to 12 p.m., that's a full park day. So why am I going to pay for another ticket on top of that? And now that day is like a $400 day. I'm not going to get $400 of value out of Walt Disney World at any park if I'm trying to have my kids go, because they're going to be exhausted and tap out. So it's those little tricks and stuff that you'll learn by doing research that you can maximize the trip but still focus on your kids. When it was just my husband and I going to the park, we could go all day. We were never breakers, as some of the people in the Well Hello Disney family have said. We didn't need to take a break. And one day we won't have to take a break because all these kids will be teenagers and adults and we'll be able to go to the parks all day. But the phase that I'm in right now is a phase where I do have to take a break and we have to relax. So mentally, I am ready to take my kids to Disney because I understand that. I understand the trip is different. My husband, who is a total roller coaster junkie, to the point, so we go to SeaWorld every year too. And he loves roller coasters, but none of us want to get on those roller coasters. If you've ever been on Manta, it's intense. I retired that coaster in like 2004 or something, or 2014 or something like that. But he'll buy the pass to get on all 5 roller coasters, go and ride them, and then meet back up with us. That way he gets his fix. But he knows that when we're going on trips, we're not focusing on big roller coasters. Our kids don't want to ride those. And occasionally we do date days at Disney when we're down there, and we get a nanny service to watch the kids so that we can go and ride rides like Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that that we love. But we understand when we're at the park, this trip, it's for our kids. So even though we may have a bucket list of things we want to do, we're trying to focus on what they want to do. So what to do if you're a parent who is like a roller coaster junkie and you want to do all of those things too? Here are some tips. We either have a date day where we have a nanny service come and watch our kids. I'm really weird about it though. I waited a long time till my kids were watching hotel rooms. They all have like gizmo watches now and can call me. Even with the toddler, I feel comfortable because I do have an 11-year-old now who basically changes her diapers and does all those things. So that's always an option. The other option is you can bring a theme park nanny with you to Walt Disney World. I see people say things all the time like, why would I bring a nanny to Disney World? Well, if you're like my family and have 3 older kids and then an infant, you're not going to be able to get on a lot of rides altogether that maybe the 3 older kids want to do. So with a theme park nanny, I can have her watch our infant while we go on rides with the big kids. And then I can still have my infant there for special things like the parade where she's going to light up seeing all of those characters floating by. So that's another option if you are someone who's like, well, I want the trip to be a little bit about both. I want to do some things because I've never been to Walt Disney World, but I want my kids to still do some things. And if you want to ride coasters and you know your kids are not going to, that's an option for you. But my biggest piece of advice is you will know when you're ready to go to Disney, when you're ready to dive into the research, when you're ready to save for that trip, and when you're ready to really sit down and plan it out, and the focus is on the kids that are going on that trip. One day the trip will change, because I already feel it, especially with my 11-year-old. He is not really wanting to go to Magic Kingdom anymore. He wants to be in Typhoon Lagoon in that wave pool that truly knocks you off of your feet. He wants to go down the big slides. He wants to go on coasters. He still wants to do things for his little sister because he wants her to experience all the things that he did. But the trip changes. So even though I love them on these little rides and riding Dumbo and they're just so sweet and cute, I still love it too with my older kid right now. And I know the trip is going to continue to evolve. We're a Disney family. We're always going to go to Disney. My husband and I love Disney. Even though we travel other places, as you probably know by now, we are one of those families who loves all theme parks, going on vacation, and trying out everything. But Disney is our second home. That's why we own DVC there. So we'll always be there. But the trip is going to look different, and that's okay. So any stage your kids are is a perfect age to go to Disney, from the tiniest baby to grown kids and then bringing your grandkids. But you as the parent or grandparent or aunt or uncle or whoever is taking a child to Disney just need to be mentally prepared for the work that it's going to take. But I will tell you, putting in that work is going to create one of the best vacations that your family has ever been on. If you need more tips, follow me at Well Hello Disney on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I have a podcast and I also have a blog. I love sharing all things Disney. It is truly my heart and passion. I have so many amazing childhood memories there, and I also have amazing memories as a parent and an adult. I am so glad you're here, and you will catch me in the next video when I answer some more Disney vacay questions. Have a magical night.